his passing. Was it yesterday or so?
That's right.
The name has been around. He's done quite a lot. A guitarist, if I am right, he was doing very
Absolutely.
well. He was doing very well actually. Yeah, I've followed quite a number, but I should not be. I don't think I'm ready to say this or that. And let me say my all-time best uh, has been Daddy Lumba.
Okay.
It used to be Nana Padu.
Okay.
Nana Padu. I used to love every bit about Nana Padu. But later, when Daddy Lumba came to the scene, those days I was struggling. I remember in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, those were the days I was struggling through my O level and A level, no parents, and it was very difficult for me to, go through the educational system. And those were the days I heard Sikasem and all those. So the Sikasem and all those songs really, they were all talking about my life, and I grew to love Daddy Lumba so much so that when he died, it affected me for almost 1 week. Seriously.
Doc, matese enye enyom no nko a na utie na utwa wo nan so ase pa.
Unfortunately, I those days I remember people would get up in the night, go for concert as we used to call it, come back at dawn. I never stay with my parents. After age 6, I never had opportunity to stay with my parents, and I never had opportunity to attend those afternoon jams. I remember, and also a concert as we used to call it. So back at where I stayed, I grew up there, in a half a region. So almost every week there was one of the famous musicians coming there, Nanam Pedu, Akpofweji, Amachi Dede. So they were always coming in their numbers, but I never had opportunity to be part of any of their shows because you lived with someone, my auntie, and she wouldn't allow me to have any freedom, and so you can understand.
I'm not too sure how well I do understand you this morning because the technical team was just setting up the cameras just so that we'll give you just 30 seconds so you could display some wonderful steps. But since you were unable to partake in all those concerts, we will let you go for now and then come back to what you do and do best. I hope that's a good agreement.
Yes, sir.
All right, Doc. Well, let's come back home now because I think that our listeners and the whole of the nation has been receiving the news about the dropping inflation with some, I will say, some mixed feelings because it sounds good. In fact, it sounds so real good. But then when you hear all these numbers, and you move out there, you're moving from Hacho, to let's say Bubiashi, and you have to go via Trotro, or in the evening, a young graduate probably must have come back from lectures and wants a ball of kinke with some shito and some shito low and all that, then you are wondering what you are hearing on radio about numbers here and there are being realistic and all that. That's what we are trying to assess this morning. Let me take your general preliminary comment on what you think the impact of the falling inflationary rate, how it will impact on real growth of the economy of Ghana.
Yeah, thank you for that insightful and very, very important question. Many have asked this question over the last few weeks when we saw inflation dropping down to 3.8, the lowest we have experienced since May 1985. According to the BOG data, that's supposed to be the lowest we have experienced since May 1985. And notwithstanding, we've also seen CD appreciating and almost around 40%. And this is also something we don't hear about. And so when you combine a CD strength together with the decline in inflation, you can only clap and say we are experiencing macroeconomic stability. And there's no doubt about that. There's no question about the fact that we are experiencing macroeconomic stability. Yeah, but the stability, anytime a country is enjoying stability, it is not automatic, you know, conclusion that everybody in the economy is experiencing a good time, or let me say, it's not automatic conclusion that the gains we see out there is impacting directly on the livelihood of the people. It depends on where the stability is coming from. If the stability is coming from policies that have been, implemented to grow agriculture, to grow the manufacturing sector, then it means that we're going to produce more. And once you produce more, definitely supply will be higher than demand. If prices are coming down because Ghanaians have produced more, and for that matter, um, supply is higher than the demand and prices are going down, then it means that when you go to the market, the kinky, a ball of kinky that you were buying at 5 cedis should drop to about 3 cedis or 2 cedis. Why? Because agricultural sector has done so well. Everybody, the volume of output has gone up so much so that now demand is far below supply and prices have gone down. If that is the reason why prices are going down, then definitely everybody is going to affect everybody automatically. But if it is not like that, because inflation can also come down when there are other things happening in the global market. If, for example, because of the stability of the global market, and for example, oil price that used to be $121 somewhere in the year 2021, the year 2022, has now fallen to about $66. And so obviously, prices of pump prices will go down. If that is the reason why your inflation is going down, or now Bank of Ghana is pumping more dollars into the system. Almost every month, they pump about 1 billion into the system. And because of that, cedi had gained strength. If the strength of the cedi is coming from Bank of Ghana's intervention, then it means that it is not because of any policy to grow agricultural sector, any policy to grow industrial sector, or to even improve service delivery, for which reason we can say that a lot of what is happening is impacting economic activities in the country. Today, if you look at what is happening, it's not because of any policy government is implementing, but it's just because we have the luxury, Bank of Ghana has a luxury now to pump more dollars to the system, and that is what is leading the stability or the gains it has made. For example, and quickly, if a Bank of Ghana's intervention is not there, but cedi is doing well, then it is because Ghana is producing more of what otherwise we would have imported. Today, what do we need the dollar for? We need the dollar to go out there and import. Toothpick, common toothpick, we import it from outside. Chamber pot, and all those other things that we should have been able to produce in this country, we import them. And so, if government or the private sector had built so many factories, and most of what otherwise we would have gone outside to buy are being produced in Ghana. So people don't need dollars, people are not chasing dollars, and because of that, demand for dollar has gone down, and cedi has become stronger in the process. Then definitely, it means that something positively is happening. Economic activities are booming. We are producing more of what otherwise we would have imported, and therefore, we don't need the dollar. That is why cedi has picked up strength. That kind of stability means job creation. That kind of stability means that the factories are working very well, agricultural sector is working very well, people are producing in Ghana what we were previously importing. But this, what we are experiencing today, that is not a picture. It is rather the other way. It's not because we have produced so much to replace the import, but instead, it is the import that has become cheaper because dollar, cedi has picked up a strength, through Bank of Ghana's intervention. And if you see that, I'm not surprised at all people are complaining, but the figures look so good.
Well, I think that that's an interesting analogy there, and I decided deliberately to allow you to have a go at your preliminary comments. And I think that is quite a scientific presentation that you have done there. But, Doc, just before we move into the detailed discussion, when you say that this is not as a result of any strategic intervention, I am just wondering why the situation had been to the opposite in the recent past as compared to what we are enjoying today.
Fantastic question. So this is what happened. We all know Ghana has been import-dependent economy. It's not today. It has always been so. And so you always want to protect your city. Indeed, when President Mahama was president and Nana Akufo-Addo with Dr. Bawumia in opposition, Dr. Bawumia talked a lot about the city that was falling and how he would address the city, because at that time it was very bad. And anytime a city doesn't perform, it means imported commodities, prices of imported commodities go up. Inflation goes up, people suffer, And so there was an attempt to make sure we cut down on the import by way of trying to establish more factories here. During the early days of Nana Akufo-Addo, we saw that attempt, at least until the economic crisis came. We saw that attempt trying to build factories here and there. Indeed, Ghana, we always import 120,000 cars every year to this country. And these 120,000 cars, only 4,000 of them happen to be the new cars, all of them as home used. And we know the accidents and all those things that come with it. And so there was an effort to stop this importation of second home use cars and try to establish car assembling plants. And in the process, about 6 car assembling plants have been established as we speak, with the capacity to produce 120,000 cars, except that people are not patronizing what they produce, and so they are not able to produce, within their capacity. Now, so during that period, the beautiful thing that we saw was that on 7 January 2017, $1 was going for 4 cedis 20 pesos. And for 61 months, that is 7 January 2022, $1 was going for 6 cedis 20 pesos. Let's listeners take good note of this analysis. And so you enter the year 2020, $1 was hovering around 6 cedis. At that time, 1 liter of fuel was 6 cedis 35 pesos. When $1 was 6 cedis 20 pesos, 1 liter of petrol was 6 cedis 35 pesos. And nobody complained about fuel prices. Nobody complained about dollar, because for almost 61 months, we have experienced that stability in exchange rate. And so there was not much to worry about. February 2022, something happened to the world. What was it? So Russia invaded Ukraine. Hitherto, Russia was supplying 10 million barrels of crude oil a day to the global market. But when they started the war and sanctions and all the other things, that supply went down drastically. At that time, a barrel of crude oil was $72. Before we could say, Jack, it has moved to $121. And so crude oil prices went up. And at the beginning, Bank of Ghana had as much as 9.9 billion in their reserves, enough to protect the city. That was the beginning of 2022. And city was around 6 cities. $1 was going around 6 cities, as I have already mentioned. But because of this particular issue, cost of production went up. Energy became a problem all over the world. The U.S. experienced the highest inflation in 40 years. Those listening to me, you can Google. U.S. experienced highest inflation of 9.1. That was the highest, I think that May or June, the highest inflation in 40 years. Germany also recorded their highest inflation in 70 years. So everywhere in the world, prices went up. Prices went up. And when prices go up, what does that mean? It means that if I was importing a commodity with $1 from US, and now they are experiencing the highest inflation in 40 years, I may need $2 to import the same quantity. But that $2, I have to take it from Ghana. That $2, I have to take it away from Ghana. So you can't go to US with your cedi.
So, Doc, just a little intervention here. You know, when you started the analogy, you talked about the pre-2017 era, which had started experiencing this upward, pricing in terms of the cost of commodities that were coming in and all that. And you did indicate that the opposition at the time, and Zed, we don't do that much of political analogy, except that, yes, the periods would speak to that and all that. The expectation was that, well, once the new government came in, it would have arrested this. And I'm just trying to quote what you said earlier. Now, even though we would accept the interventions of the geopolitics and stuff like that, you would realize that that dream could not materialize. And so the point I'm trying to make here is this, that in spite of all those influences and everything that happened in the past, over the last 12 to 13 months, we have seen this very significant and very consistent drop in here. And so when we do not acknowledge some of the efforts that have been put in and say that, well, nothing much has been done, then that is where the question of what must have happened, to induce this kind of falling situation. That's the point.
Yeah, my brother,
made here.
That was exactly what I was talking about. And this particular question, last semester, I happened to teach public sector economic related courses to 4 different groups, 1 PhD class and 3 master groups. And this question was always there. And you cannot just answer and say yes without trying to talk about 2022, because I was trying to say that the 61 months prior to January 2022, CD was very strong. Inflation, September 2019, was 7.6, and that happened to be the lowest since March 1992. And so some of these things that we are seeing, even though not as good as it is today, we were experiencing them during the 61 months before Russian-Ukrainian crisis came in. And I'm trying to explain that when that happened, 2022, today, US has not registered their highest inflation in 40 years. Today, Germany is not experiencing the highest inflation in 70 years. But that was the situation in 2022. And because of that, Ghanaians needed more dollars to import the same quantity of goods. And so there was huge pressure on Bank of Ghana to come to the market to protect the city.
Absolutely.
Which they did.
Okay.
And Bank of Ghana pumped so much dollars to protect the city.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because the demand was so high, it was super extraordinary. Okay. I don't know the words to use. The demand for dollar at the time is not like what is happening today.
I can see the struggle.
Yeah, the demand for dollar was so high.
Okay.
And so by July 2022, Bank of Ghana had almost exhausted all the reserves. Okay. Please, let people follow it. Had almost exhausted all the reserves. Okay. And they came out to complain. Bank of Ghana came out to complain. At that time, $1 was going for 8 cedis 20 pesos.
All right.
July 2022. And please, for 61 months, $1 moved from 4 cedis 20 pesos to 6 cedis 20 pesos. 61 months.
Okay.
So if within 6 months, it has moved from 6 cedis to 20 pesos to 8 cedis 20 pesos. Can't we see something was happening?
Something must have been happening. And Doc, I think that if you don't mind, let's look at whatever must have happened. I think that you've done very good explanation as to what must have caused the skyrocketing and all that. But over the last, let's say, 15 months or so,
would you allow me with the sentence? I'm coming there. This is the answer.
So you
this is the answer.
So Doc, you have just
I know. This is the answer.
Seconds in moving from
to that. Yeah,
up
this
to
is the answer.
where
Please.
we stand today?
Oh, okay, please, I beg you. This is the answer. I cannot answer what is happening today without talking about that.
Absolutely, but you would want to
and I want to explain that.
Okay.
Just a minute. And if you give me 3 minutes, I'll wrap up and viewers can follow.
I'll give you
this
1
story very
minute,
well.
Doc, because
Okay,
I
so
love
just
your
3 minutes,
dancing
please.
steps.
Please, just 3 minutes. I beg you, don't interrupt me for the next 3 minutes, and I will give you the answer. So, August, September, October, Bank of Ghana didn't have money to intervene the market. August, September, October 2022, Bank of Ghana couldn't come out to protect the city the way they were doing during the first 7 months of the year, because they had almost run out of reserves. And that was very dangerous. And so that was when we saw CD depreciating at $1 by October. $1 was going for October. $1 was going for over 15 cedis in the interbank. And then at the forest, it was 17 cedis, what people have talked so much about. Fortunately, Bank of Ghana, government was going around looking for dollars. So they got so much dollars November 2028. They came and pumped so much dollar into the system. And by the end of the year 2022, $1 was 8 cedis. Look, the same year we started $1, 6 cedis, 20 pesos. July, it went to 8 cedis, 20 pesos. October, interbank, it went to 15, above 15, and forest over 17. But that same year, because Bank of Ghana came and pumped so much, within the matter of 2 months, CD dropped again to 8 cedis. Anybody listening could go to one Bank of Ghana website and look at all these figures that I'm talking about. And so at that time, the government thought they need to bring in an IMF because they have run out of reserve. They have to struggle to get dollars to come and protect the city. So there was a need for an IMF to come in, give them more dollars so they could protect the city. Now, an IMF came in exactly May 2023, and this is where the answer is. Exactly May 2023. And when they came in, we are almost run out of our reserves. One of the conditionalities, and now, in fact, I was almost a consultant to the finance ministry when they were putting together what they call PCPEG, post-COVID economic recovery program, that they submitted to IMF, and IMF endorsed for the current program that we enjoy in the extended credit facility. One of the 16 quantitative criteria was that you have to, increase your reserves. And so IMF placed a ban on Bank of Ghana's intervention in the secondary forest. And the ban was that Bank of Ghana could not intervene with more than $80 million US. Everybody
You're tuned in to
Bank of Ghana
101.9 FM.
with more than 80 million. And that was how it was. And so cities started suffering because Bank of Ghana didn't have the capacity to now intervene because we were under the program and IMF is saying you can't intervene.
Dr.
Now,
George
by 3rd
Domfe.
December 2024.
Doc.
3rd December 2024.
Doc.
$1 was almost 17 cities. It has gone
Doc.
beyond 16 cities. And we were getting to 17 cities again. We were in 2022. And that was when Bank of Ghana, IMF met Ghana and said that you've done so well, you have almost 9 billion in your reserves. So I am now lifting in the ban. And IMF lifted the ban that was prohibiting Bank of Ghana from intervening the market with over 80 million. So they said, now that you have about 9 billion, you can now intervene with whatever amount that you want.
All right.
And immediately the then governor, Ernest Addison, started pushing dollar into the system. So $1 that was over 16 getting to 17 in November 2024. By the time the Nekufuor handed over power to President Mahama, $1 was 40 cedis, 70 pesos. Within a matter of a month, $1 had appreciated to 14 cedis, 70 pesos.
I think
and that was because now IMF had lifted the ban.
I think the
and
historical
the new government came,
analogy.
the ban had been lifted.
Doc,
Gold inflows was also.
Doc, will you at this stage indulge me?
So they started intervening, and so it's no much.
Doc, if you may just indulge me, if you may just indulge me.
I mean, BOG intervened 1.1 billion. That was how much they pumped to the system.
Thank you very much.
And when previously the other government could not pump more than 80 million. September last year, BOG pumped 1.1 billion. October, they pumped 1 billion. November, it went on and on and on. November, they pumped 1.3. December, they pumped 800 million. This month, last month, January, they pumped 1 billion. And so now, what the strength of the city is not because Ghana, we have built factories, and now what we would have needed dollars to import, we are producing them here, so demand for dollar has gone down, and city has become stronger, and that's not it. But rather, what is happening is the bank that is pumping dollars, and previous government could not do that because they were under a ban of not intervening in the market with more than 80 million. All these things are in the public domain.
Okay.
You
Doc,
know.
You now want to
December,
take a short break here, Doc. Just a second.
December 2024.
Dr. Domfe.
IMF.
Hello, Dr. Domfe.
And so once the ban is lifted,
hello, Dr. Domfe.
And you have more dollars, why don't you pump into protect the city? And that is the stability that we enjoy, my brother.
Hello, Dr. Domfe. That's excellent. And I think that viewers are watching you. And I can see how passionate you are, except that we would play according to the rules of the game right in here in the studio. And for listeners out there, we've been listening to Dr. George Domfe, who is the president of the African Policy Lens. And he, of course, is a development economist. We are looking at the current falling inflationary rates. And at the end of the day, we would want to see how that is juxtaposed against real economic growth in Ghana. A lot of historical analogy. Thankfully, right from the above 20 percentage rates in our inflation, today we are at 3.5 and the 3.8, and the expectation is that even as we go forward, it may come down much, much further. Doc, what I'd like us to look at this stage is this, that are you able to predict what Ghanaians should expect of prices of goods and services, whether as a result of this very consistent, drop of the inflationary rates, it should automatically correlate and lead to a certain price reduction in goods and services?
Yes, before I come in there, quickly, if you would allow me to find out the impact of what is happening. Is it even impacting the stability that we are enjoying? Is it impacting on growth of the economy?
I think
is it impacting because it must impact on the economy.
Doc. Hello, Doc. Sorry, Doc.
Hello.
Sorry, Doc. As I said, the conversation.
I can go on.
Yeah, no, please hold on. So the conversation is expected to be placed within a certain context. We would look at its impact on growth towards the tail end. For now, we are looking at what is currently happening and then appreciate it. Once we have appreciated that, the question now is that how is that likely to impact on goods and services?
Oh, okay.
On its
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. And I'm sorry I was going ahead of you.
Doc, me show television no so senior Entrino Ameman whom no sword me to whom say Yagro cry with your name. The conversation is within a certain context.
It's like I'm in the lecture room.
I know. I have seen you.
I
have seen you in the lecture room. Unfortunately, this is on air. This is radio, and our listeners are enjoying
my
it.
brother.
So let us follow the sequence of it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, indeed, I must say that it is good to enjoy economic stability. Whoever says economic stability is not good may not be telling the truth. Economic stability is very good because anytime as a country you have stability, it helps businesses to plan. It's not good to see today $1 as it happened in 2022. We started the year with $1 going for 6 cities, 20 pesos. Somewhere July it went to 8 cities, 20 pesos. Then it went up almost to 17 cities and it dropped down to 8. That is very bad, and in that process, businesses suffered. A lot of businesses, collapsed because of this particular, especially those that were depending on the exchange rate, it was so bad when you you experience such volatilities, especially in exchange rate market. And so I'm not saying today we are enjoying smooth macroeconomic stability, and that is excellent. It helps businesses to plan. If nothing at all, it helps businesses to plan. What again? It has impact. On the livelihood of people. It doesn't matter how we look at it. There are positive aspects of it. One of it had to do with reduction in pump prices. If you go to buy fuel today, I think 1 liter is hovering around 10 cedis, and that to me is positive, because when fuel prices are very high, we know what happens. Fares go up, and when that happens, people who transport goods from one village to city or from city to the villages are compelled to increase prices, and inflation goes up, household suffers. Today, two things are pushing pump prices down. One had to do with the global market. Now it has dropped from $121. It was sometime in 2022 to now around 66. In fact, about 3 weeks ago, it was even below $60. But recently, because of the Trump and Iranian crisis, that their problems, push oil prices up. And the last time I checked was Friday or Thursday, the Brent crude was going around $66. And so the drop from 121 in 2022, not every day in 2022, that was the highest in 2022. The drop from the highest of $122 globally to now 66 obviously should be one of the reasons why prices are down. But significantly, because we use dollars to also buy, one CD has gained more value. We have CD effect also in the drop of oil prices. And to me, that has become the most significant reason why prices have gone down in the country, because anytime fuel prices go up, drivers would increase their fare, and in that way, somebody is coming from the village to with his foodstuffs to the city to sell. The drivers are going to collect so much so that when they get to the city, they have no other option than to also increase prices of the foodstuffs, and it goes on and on. It affects everybody, and workers, especially those of us on fixed income, we suffer a lot. And so these are the very positive things that we are experiencing from the current stability, no doubt about that. But in economics, so unfortunately, in economics, anything positive has any decision that you make as a government, you have to be prepared for the negative side, and that's why always you need to create balance. Now, what is the negative side of what we are experiencing?
We will get to the negative side, Doc. Just a second. We will get to the negative side, but let us be very chronological here. Let us exhaust, the impact, and I see you saying that this is having a very positive impact on the economy. And let us look at it more critically, and then we would move to the other side as well. I see that, Doc, I don't know which radio station you worked where the guest determines how much time the host should allow him to talk and all that. But I see you are a fantastic guest, and probably very soon Zed will be coming to talk to you about getting you a place in coming to host a show here, so that your guests will be determining how much time you have to speak. But that is just by the side. Doc, let's look at this now. In applauding the current economic situation, you said that when prices of fuel, for example, are going down, it is expected that prices of goods and services, food for that matter, may also have to go down. I just want to find out from you whether this is a realistic situation as we are observing today. Hello, Doc. Are you there?
Partly so, and partly... Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you, Doc. Please proceed.
Okay, so I was saying that unfortunately, yes and no. Yes, because recently when Bank of Ghana, Ghana Statistical Service came to announce the year-on-year headline and inflation for January as 3.8, they mentioned some items, some commodities that have experienced deflation. And when we say deflation, that is their prices have gone down. One thing people should understand is that when we say inflation, it means increase. Anytime you hear anything about the word inflation in economics, it means increase. And so it doesn't matter what that inflation is one, it means prices are going up. So when they come to announce to us that inflation is 3.8, it does not automatically mean that all prices are going down. In fact, the figure 3.8 is just an average. And now we have over 300 commodities in the basket. So in the basket, some of them definitely would experience deflation. Deflation is when prices are going down. And some would stagnate. Their prices will not change at all. And some would experience higher increases. But at the end of the day, if you look at the average, that is what we are talking about, 3.8. So that's the average. Sometimes some people make a mistake to say that I have been buying from the market at 2 cities, and last month, and when this month I went, it is 5 cities. Why should Ghana Statistical Service tell us that inflation is dropping? No, you don't use your personal experience alone to determine what should be the average inflation for the country.
And that's what you would
we're talking about over 300 commodities. Okay. And so the fact that what you are buying has gone up does not mean that everything is going up. Indeed, the average is the 3.8, and that is what is it for the whole economy. And when they say 3.8, what it means is that the rate at which prices are going up has slowed at that rate, 3.8. It does not mean prices are coming down. And so, for example, if inflation stay 3.8 for 12 months, and a bag of rice at the beginning of the for 12 months, and a bag of rice at the beginning of the year was 100. It is expected that by the end of the year, you will buy a bag of rice at 103 cedis, 80 pesos. 103 cedis, 80 pesos. If you compare this to the situation in 2022, when inflation was 54, and it has stayed for 12 months, what that also means is that if a bag of rice, if all things are held constant, a bag of rice that was being sold at 100 cedis will now be sold at 154. And so you see, at the rate of 3.8, the rice is being sold 303 and 80 pesos. And at the rate of 54, the rice is being sold at 154. All indicate an increase, except that the 54, you were almost adding about half, a little over half of what you were using to buy a bag of rice previously to the original amount to get just a bag of rice. But this why you need just 3 cities or about 4 cities to what you were using, the 100 cities, to get a bag of rice. And so obviously, anytime inflation comes down, the indications are that the general level of prices are not moving at a higher rate, for which reason livelihood becomes better. And so we expect livelihood to be better, and rightly so, Ghana Statistical Service pointed out some commodities that, in their opinion, from the market survey they did, had experienced a decline in prices, what we call in economics deflation. Except that, that's another story, because I have also had my own reservation about those figures that Bank of Ghana China, but let's not go there, and let's use what they brought. And so what the Bank of Ghana is telling us is that in the markets, and listeners and viewers, they have selected markets across the country. Every region, Bank of Ghana has markets, not a market. That's the Bank of Ghana. Ghana Statistical Service has markets. And these markets, they have their people in the markets. They are supposed to go there almost at the beginning of every month to look at the price changes. What is the prices for the basic commodities that we all buy? And then getting to the end, they look at the the prices, and so they're able to get the price change. When they get the price change for the commodity, Bank of Ghana has what we call a predetermined weighting, and that predetermined weighting is based on the level of patronage of goods and services in the market. And so a commodity that people buy a lot, people use a lot, people buy a lot will have a higher weight. And so what they do is that when they are calculating, they multiply, and the total weight should be 1. So some of the commodities will have 0.001, some will have 0.1, some will have 0.2. Every commodity that we buy in the basket of over 300 has a different weight. And so this is how they get consumer price index. They multiply the weight by the weight of each commodity by the price change. And when they sum it up, that gives them what we call consumer price index, CPI. And when they are calculating headline inflation for January, they can do year on year, they can do month on month. If you hear year on year, and currently what we are talking about, 3.8 is year on year, it means that they were comparing the CPI for January 2026 to CPI for January 2025. That is the year on year headline and inflation. On the other hand, if they compare year on year, if they compare CPI for January 2026 to CPI of December 2025, they get what we call month on month. So when it is month on month, they are comparing one month's CPI to another month. And so based on CPI, we define inflation as a proportionate in changes in consumer price index. And so how the consumer price index is calculated, it takes care of all the commodities that and goods and services that we use in this country, we consume in this country, and so as I said previously, it is possible that George Domfe consume 10 different commodities and all of them would experience price increases. But at the same time, someone at Dema, my village in Bunahafo, may also buy patronize 10 different commodities that would experience deflation. In other words, decline in what? Prices. And so, at the end of the day, it is what is the experience of that person at Dema, my experience in Accra, and everybody's experience that comes together to give us the 3.8. And so your question, the impact, the positive impact, may not be on all of us. It depends so much on the type of commodity, the types of goods and services that we are consuming.
This is 101.9 FM, and it is exactly 46 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. It is the 9th of February, 2026. What is on the platform right now for discussions on Business Breakfast on Z is, can the falling inflation deliver real growth? And who is doing very good justice to the subject? We are speaking, and actually he is on Zoom with Z right now. We're speaking with Dr. George Domfe, who is president of the African Policy Lens and is professionally a development economist. And I find that very important even as I go to my next question. But before I do that, we are live on our streaming pages on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook on ZFMGH, and on YouTube you can find us at Z Multimedia. You can join the conversation by sending your questions and comments to us via WhatsApp on 0544 321 019. WhatsApp is 0544 321 019. And if you want to call and make a contribution to the conversation, you can reach us on 030-395-6641. You can join us on the other social media platforms. If it is Instagram or X, it is ZFMGH. Instagram and X is ZFMGH. And if you're on TikTok, you can also freely join us on Z Multimedia. Our website, you can find everything right there. It's www.zmultimedia.com. Dr. George Domfe is right here on Zoom with us on Business Breakfast on Z. 12 minutes to the top of the hour. Doc, I come back to you, and we are looking at the impact of this on a developing economy like that of Ghana. You are a development economist. Now, with this inflationary rate, which is going down, what would you say a developing economy like Ghana can do to take advantage of the situation, and how we can also sustain the kind of gains that are currently being enjoyed?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I left something out, and I think quickly let me add, because we are also educating. So I talked about headline inflation and being the composite CPI for all the commodities and services, for all the goods and services in the country. Yeah, but sometimes we also have core inflation. And Ghana Statistical Service, anytime they announce inflation, they talk about 4 of them. So core year-on-year, core month-on-month, headline year-on-year, headline month-on-month. What I explained was for headline year-on-year, when you compare CPI for a particular year to another CPI of the same month in another year, that is a headline. But if it is the previous month to the current month, that is month on month. That is when you have considered all commodities in the basket. In order for BOG, Bank of Ghana, to be able to determine policy rate, they don't have to use the headline, because the headline could be misleading. The headline, I'll say again, BOG doesn't use headline to determine what should be the policy rate. They use a core inflation. And so when journalists and other people are interested in the headline, BOG uses what core. And what is core? Core is when you take out all from the basket that of over 300 commodities. When you take out all food and energy related commodities, all food and energy related commodities. We all know food and energy related commodities, their prices are highly volatile. In other words, their prices are not stable. Their prices can change, can go up and come down anytime. When it comes to the matter of energy, it comes to the matter of food, And so, in order for Bank of Ghana to know really what is happening to prices in the economy, they will knock out all the food and energy related commodities. And once they do that, and they generate consumer price index, and they use the current month's consumer price index against the consumer price index of the previous month, that is core month on month. But if they use the consumer price index of the present month against the consumer price index of the previous year's same month, that becomes a core, a year-on-year core. And so it is important viewers get to understand this. We always combine them. Sometimes you see somebody using core against the headline, and I do a lot of commentaries on my Facebook wall, and you see when you are talking about headline, somebody will pick core and come and argue with you and tell you that he understands it. And to me, it's so bad. Even me, in my class, especially the guys who are highly political, they come to my class with when you are talking about headline, they are talking about the core. Indeed, what we should know is that in order not to cause confusion, Ghana Statistical Service always announces the headline. And so if you go to the internet and you are looking for figures on inflation, and to make a debate, to make an argument, it is important that if the person somebody is talking about headline, you use headline to come and counter whatever he has said. When I say headline and you also bring core to tell me that I'm a liar, it means that you are displaying ignorance. But unfortunately, because you are not public sector economists, it becomes very difficult for you to know what you are doing. But you just Google, you got the data, and data should be interpreted by experts. Unfortunately, in this country, you guys are the media. Those of you in the media, you have respect for the experts, but many Ghanaians don't care about experts. It's about their political interest, and right away they will shoot you down. Yeah, and so coming back quickly,
just before you continue,
for us,
just before you continue, Doc. Sorry, just before you continue, and I love that education bit there. That is the essence of the discussion on this platform, Doc. And I can assure you, you would not find this anywhere except on Z 101.9 FM, where Doc, the professor, gets into his elements and teaches us the difference between core and headline inflation. This is education combined with information. And when we get to Bono and Ahafo and we are dancing to the tunes of Nana Ampedu, then you see Dr. George Domfe in his elements. Now, George, Doc, just tell us briefly what, as a developing economy like Ghana, what we will do to get us to the goal line.
Yeah, I think as developing economies today, fortunately, commodity prices have gone up. Not all of them, especially the gold. The gold prices, why did it go up? Gold prices went up because of the U.S. trade war with almost all countries in the world. And so dollar, that has been, and it is still the global reserve currency has become quite unattractive. In fact, last year alone, countries increased their gold reserves. Countries around the world increased their gold reserves by 30%. It means that there's a higher demand for gold. And that's why an ounce of gold last week hit $500. That has been the highest in the history of the gold purchasing. We've never had anything like that. And so the stability is there. But unfortunately, when gold prices are going up, we've also seen a drastic fall in prices of cocoa, and the crude oil. It is both good and bad when prices go up, because Ghana, we are net exporters. As a net exporter, when prices of crude oil goes up on the global market, as it went up to $121, what it means is that you will get more money to support the budget, what we call annual budget funding amount, the proceeds that we get from the oil. Today, if you look at what the finance minister presented to us, you could see that revenue inflows from oil has gone down drastically. Aside the fact that production has gone down a little, the prices on the global market is also affecting the inflows from, through ABF, annual funding, but, and that has in a way also affected our revenue generation effort, And so that is the negative side of it. But the positive side of it is that petroleum sector has been deregulated, and people we call BDCs go up there they are not government agencies. They go there to use their own dollars to buy petrol. They come home here, OMCs, oil marketing companies such as Goil, Total, and all that. They buy them from the BDCs. And so if the BDCs go to the external market and a barrel is $121, definitely when they come.
Hello, Doc. I guess you may have to reposition yourself just a little bit, and then we will have you come back with your concluding comments. It's just about 3 minutes to the top of the hour. It is the 9th day of February, 2026 in the year of our Lord. Do we have Doc back on the line? Hello, Doc.
Yeah, but in that situation, as a developing economy, what do? if now, because pump prices have gone down, because global market prices of oil has gone down, and you are net exporter, pump prices have also followed suit. I've already mentioned that dollar is also helping. There are three things that will determine pump prices: taxes on petroleum products, and then the global market price, and also the exchange rate. And so, as a consumer in the developing economy, when it happens, it means that God alternative means to generate more resources to replace what otherwise would have come through the ABF annual budget funding amount.
Okay.
Because oil prices have gone down.
Okay.
And so if you're a finance minister, immediately you need to sit down and see how best you could get options, and the options are taxes.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, Ghanaians are always afraid of taxes. Ghanaians don't want to pay taxes.
Doc, since I
I've
see
always
that
asked myself, the last time I checked, was being provided by God was when Moses was his people the promised land. Manna doesn't rain anywhere. Every country is using taxes, and so to that there have been introduction of some taxes, either new taxes or existing tax rates have gone up, and I can see Abosokan guys now crying because I think this particular tax that is hitting hard at them, and so many other things. But I understand the finance minister, and I don't have problem.
Wonderful.
Because if you have this problem, the only way out is to look for alternative means of generating resources. Otherwise, you may not be able to pay workers.
That's excellent.
And when workers are not paid, the same Ghanaians will come out to complain.
That's excellent. Dr. George Domfe. Unfortunately, time is our enemy this morning, and we would have to be wrapping up. But I believe that, Doc, you would have to be lacing your boots to get into the studio sometime sooner than later. So